Councillor online?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so there's no apologies. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest? Councillor Lee?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to raise the matter of a potential declarable conflict of interest in relation to item 16.2.1, land matter Harvey Bay Airport Industrial Estate. Mr Mayor, I just want to advise the council here and seek their vote on it. I don't believe I've actually got a declarable conflict of interest. I think I should be able to participate in the discussion and voting on the matter. I just want to make the point that I've assisted a potential vendor in making a purchase from the estate. The matter was raised back in November of 2021, and I've been actively engaged in trying to bring this matter to council over the period of the last 2 years. But as I said, I don't believe I've got a conflict in the matter. I don't have a personal relationship with the vendor, and I don't have a personal interest or benefit derived from the settlement of the arrangement, settlement of the matter.
So it's a declarable conflict. It's declared it. Yeah. So was there any discussion on that one? Any questions? Better understand it? If there's no questions for the councillor, I'll move that Councillor Lee is able to participate in the discussion and vote on the matter. The reasons Councillor Lee is able to participate in the discussion and vote on the matter are: Councillor Lee has informed the meeting of a declarable conflict of interest in the matter in accordance with section 150 EQ of the Act, and B, councillors present and able to vote on this matter except the following: the facts outlined in the disclosure and representations made by Councillor Lee. The declarable conflict of interest for Councillor Lee in matter is not considered to be significant enough to require Councillor Lee to leave the meeting, and that 3, that it is appropriate for Councillor Lee to remain in the meeting and participate in the decision. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Phil Truscott, any questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Are there any further disclosures of interest? Councillor Lewis.
This isn't a disclosure of interest in the strict sense, but for the information of the public, the item 15.1, which relates to cemeteries, when this issue had come up before, on previous occasions I had abstained from participation in the matter on the basis that some of the discussion related to a property that my wife and I own. That property is no longer under consideration, and I've informed the CEO that his advice was that there's no longer, since that's off the table, there's no longer a conflict, and in those circumstances I propose to act on that basis and participate.
I agree, there's no conflict. It might be the same subject matter, but the aspect that would have created a conflict is no longer in the realm of possibilities. And so there's no motion to move on that.
No. Don't have to, if you want to be
done with
safety.
All right, we'll move the standard motion to allow, just because it's potential that somebody could bring that back off the table. You know what I mean? So I'll move the standard motion that Councillor Lewis is able to participate in the discussion and vote on the matter. The reasons Councillor Lewis is able to participate in the discussion and vote on the matter are: Councillor Lewis has informed the meeting of a declarable conflict of interest in the matter in accordance with section 150 EQ, and B, the councillors present and able to vote on this matter except the following: 1, the facts as outlined in the disclosure and representations made by Councillor Lewis. 2, the declarable conflict of interest for Councillor Lewis in the matter is not considered to be significant enough to require Councillor Lewis to leave the matter. And 3, that it is appropriate for Councillor Lewis to remain in the meeting and participate in the decision. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Chapman, put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Are there any further? Well, she wasn't here for the start. She couldn't have the subject matter.
Marking me as...
we didn't include her as president until it finished.
I didn't hear what you even said.
Yeah. Is there any further disclosures of interest? Yeah, Councillor Williams.
I was hoping to get here in time for this part. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got 2 that I'd like to run past everybody as a declarable conflict of interest. The first one is on the matter 16.1.2. So I'm going to declare in relation to caravan parks. It's something that I don't see as an issue, but I wanted to put it out there just because perception might be different. my company, for which I'm the sole director and shareholder of, has a caravan park in Bundaberg, or is the trustee of a trust that has a caravan park in Bundaberg. So I've been trying to wrap my brain about whether or not, I don't think awarding a contract to manage caravan parks in Harvey Bay is really a thing, but I just wanted to raise it there in case anyone had any questions about that. We also don't actively look for caravan parks to manage. We only own our own, so we wouldn't be tendering for anything like this. So I'd like to participate in the matter if possible, and if anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions for Councillor Wellings on that? Yep. So I'll move that Councillor Wellings is able to participate in the matter, in the discussion and vote on the matter in the standard form. The reasons are that she's made the disclosure in terms of 150 EQ, and the councillor is present and able to vote on the matter, except the facts as outlined in the disclosure, and the declarable conflict of interest for Councillor Wellings in the matter is not considered to be significant enough to require Councillor Wellings to leave the matter, and 3, that it is appropriate for Councillor Wellings to remain in the meeting and participate in the decision. Second, Councillor Sanderson. Any questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Is there any further?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I also would like to put forward a declarable conflict of interest on a development application that's currently being assessed by council. This is the one located at 408 to 412 the Esplanade Torquay, which is MCU 23/0090. So while this application isn't before this council meeting, we are aware that it's currently being considered by the planners and it's highly likely to come before council for a decision in the near future. It's my preference to deal with the conflict before the agenda forum that we're going to have when we will be considering it, to enable me to fully participate in that agenda forum if and when I'm able to participate in any vote on the matter. So I'm going to say this slowly. I want everyone to listen really closely. The declarable conflict is that a company for which my father, Neil Gilmartin, is a director, and my auntie, Fiona Gilmartin, is the sole shareholder of. The company is called Velvet Glove Holdings, Proprietary Limited, and it has the following interests in the neighbouring property to where this development is. First is an ownership of a ground floor 2-bedroom unit, which sits vacant for Fiona's personal use when she visits Harvey Bay. Secondly is the management rights to the building, which is valid until 2025, although no units have been under management for a long time. And finally is the caretaker's contract for the neighbouring building, which is valid until 2025 as well. And the caretaker's contract just means that the company's paid a small annual fee to pick up rubbish, mow lawns and tidy the common areas. I believe I can view the application impartially, and that the declarable conflict of interest as outlined won't impact on my views. But as it's a significant decision for the region, I'd like council to note the facts outlined in my disclosure, resolve that the declarable conflict of interest in the matter is not considered significant enough to require me to leave any meeting where the matter is being discussed, and resolve that it's appropriate for me to participate in the decision-making process with respect to the matter, including voting on it when it comes before council. And also happy to answer any questions on that because it sounded complicated.
Were there any questions?
If I just quickly repeat that,
Oh, yeah.
the company that owns that unit next door to where this development is, Velvet Glove Holdings Proprietary Limited, my father is the director of that company, my auntie is the shareholder of that company. So they own a 2-bedroom unit, they have the management rights but no units under management, and they have the caretaker's contract to the neighbouring unit.
And the management rights end in 2025, did you say?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Lewis.
I just ask, how large is this building?
So the building, you mean the building next door? It has 17 units in it. So it's a 2-storey, so ours is ground floor, it's the only one ground floor. And then you've got the garages and the first floor, then I guess it's...
So an entity you're related to owns a unit, has management rights to 2025, but isn't actually managing anything.
No.
And has, what was the
Caretaker's contract.
Caretaker's contract for, okay.
So meaning we pick up, so just in case people aren't familiar with those, meaning we pick up the rubbish. When I say we, contractors pick up the rubbish.
And what's the period of that?
me too if I walk on the property and see rubbish. 2025.
That's
So,
in
so
2025.
these contracts were 25-year contracts from the year 2000, 5 by 5 by 5. If that
There's
makes
no
sense.
further options to renew.
No.
Okay, I was going to ask about the unit, because they're sort of asking about, so a close associate of yours, being your father, owns a unit.
Well, he doesn't technically own it. He's the director of the company. My aunt is the shareholder.
Okay, so she's still a close associate.
I think it's
Maybe
still
is she a close associate named?
I mean, I think it's significant enough to declare it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just asking you because I would actually declare it as a conflict of interest and wouldn't participate. So that's why I definitely think you need to declare it. So is an answer close associate?
I'll go to the section, I'll go to the relevant section of that, Mr Mayor, just bear with me 1 second.
It is pretty confident.
It is, I know, I'm
It's
sorry.
it's a related entity.
No, it's a related, so in section 150 EP, who is a related party of a councillor? A person is a related party of a councillor if the person is any of the following in relation to the councillor. An entity in which the councillor or a person mentioned, a close associate, has an interest. A close associate of the councillor, other than an entity mentioned in section 150 EJ, a parent, child or sibling of the councillor's spouse, a person who has a close relationship with the councillor. So, however, parent, child or sibling of the councillor's spouse or a person who has a close personal relationship with the councillor is related party of the councillor in relation to a matter only if the councillor knows or ought to reasonably know about the parent, child, sibling or person's involvement in the matter. My interpretation would be that it is a close associate and a related party, and it is a declarable conflict of interest. But it's up to the council to determine how they wish Councillor Wellings to participate.
Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I just asked the question about how will that, what the management of these units will, how will it benefit from what's happening next door?
Well,
That's where it talks about conflict of interest, about a benefit. Now, I just can't see, that's
all lost.
that's right, but there's no retail or anything like that in there as a shops or anything like that, and it's, yeah, so, and you're saying that they're not holiday let there, those units?
They were a long time ago
But
when they
they're
were
not at the
new,
moment.
and progressively what's happened is people have taken up owner occupier to the point where they've pulled down the vacancy sign out the front of the building, and that's not there. There's no online, the only thing that could be holiday let there might be if there's a couple of individual owners that I think that Airbnb their own units, but that's nothing to do with us.
So it's like having a house next door to it, so I asked the question.
so what's our position if the definition under the legislation identifies it as a related party, associate of a related party, and we vote against it?
So it's up to the council to determine whether the declarable conflict is significant enough to exclude Councillor Wellings from participating in decision making and voting on it. So it's up to the council to make the determination based on the declaration made by Councillor Wellings.
Is there any more discussion or question,
Just
Councillor?
wondered if you stand to gain any personal benefit and whether that has any bearing on,
I can't see that I can.
you're not part of the company or anything.
No, and it's particularly not up to, and I do have to, with my family, we do have between us quite a lot of companies and a lot of different directors and shareholders, so I did have to go and look up the ownership structure, just in case it was to be under a trust, because I thought it may have been, it's not. If it were, then I could see that I could, but it's not, so.
Chair, I'm not sure that's relevant.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if
but
it's- if
people are
it's
just questioning, like, it doesn't have to be precisely, the discussion can get down to what's relevant in the end, but yeah.
I was going to say, if it's a related entity, the councillor is in the same position as if they owned it. So the question, I mean, having established that it's a related entity, it's really a question of not whether the councillor would derive a benefit, but whether the entity would derive a benefit or suffer a detriment. So I don't think that, that's the question. Is there a significant risk of a benefit or a detriment,
And
which
actually-
might impact the decision?
Can I say on that, it's interesting because I was trying to work out whether, any one of the people that own a unit next door to this development would in fact get a benefit or a detriment, and I can't quite work out myself which way that would fall.
Which way we go?
If at all.
Or whether it's significant.
I mean, I'll just put out my initial take on it, and of course, we actually don't technically have to make the decision today, although there is a petition that relates to this, so there will be actually a motion. I wouldn't think any councillor should vote on a development application neighbouring a property they or a close associate owns. Well, so if there was a development application next door to my home, I would excuse myself. If there was a development application next to a property that a close associate of mine had an interest in, I would leave the room too. And that's my general view on a conflict of interest. You don't have to strictly identify the actual potential benefit or loss. It is a matter that you do have a conflict of interest in voting on a matter because you own the neighbouring property.
Can I ask a question to the CEO? What's the difference in this with I'm just trying to get my head around it, because I knew it was definitely a declarable conflict, but it's not a prescribed? What's the difference between, like, what would make it, because we're talking about it now as though it's my direct benefit or loss, just because
Just go to
my
the
aunt
section
is
there.
a shareholder, so I'm just trying to understand that. Like, what would have made it a prescribed?
Find the section
If
there.
you're a director or a shareholder, that would be described.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't mind if we decide this next month, if everybody needs more time. I'd just really like to get it decided on before there's an agenda for it.
Yeah, that's, and thank you for bringing it now.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a number of provisions for what is a prescribed conflict of interest. Section 150EH is the relevant section of the Act, and Section 150EI. Section 150EH relates to sponsored travel or accommodation, gifts, loans or sponsored travel, and Section 150EI, which is prescribed conflict of interest other, says a council has a prescribed conflict of interest in a matter if the matter is or relates to a contract between the local government and the councillor or a close associate of the councillor for the supply of goods and services or the lease, sale or assets of a local government.
So it's not even a prescribed if she owned the property that's subject to development application.
It would be, I'll keep going.
Okay,
A person who's being considered for appointment as the Chief Executive Officer of local government is a close associate of the councillor. The Chief Executive Officer is a close associate of the councillor. The matter is or relates to the appointment, discipline, determination, remuneration of the CEO. The matter is or relates to an application made to the local government for a grant of a licence, permit, registration or approval or consideration of another matter under the Local Government Act.
And is that town planning related?
I would suggest that approval of a matter under the Local Government Act. I would have to take advice on that, Mr. Mayor.
Is it easier if I roll it to next month?
Yes.
I'm happy to. I'm
December
happy to
13th.
withdraw for this month and
You have to take advice on that. It says consideration of a matter under a Local Government Act, under the Local Government Act. So
I think it must mean.
So I would believe that it would.
Well, for a neighbouring property, so that, like, she doesn't, that was just my hypothetical, if she owned the property. But for a neighbouring property, why is that doesn't become
For neighbouring property.
Yeah, like the actual situation we're talking about here. Like I threw out the hypothetical, but that nothing on there says a neighbouring property approval.
Oh, yeah, this is if the application was made to local government by the councillor or a close associate of the councillor. So,
Which isn't-
so it's not a close associate of the councillor that's making applications, so it's not a prescribed conflict.
Yeah. Okay, what, are you gonna leave the room for this petition?
yes, I'll
Declarable.
leave the room for the petition and I'll redeclare it next month and I'll email everyone the wording that I just said.
Okay,
That might be easier. Okay.
I think I will, yeah. Okay, and so will you, take any action on that in terms of advice, or there's no
Yes.
further? Yeah.
I'll wait until Councillor Wellings provides me with the facts that relate to the declarable conflict of interest, and I'll take advice to provide to council.
Are there any further declarations of interest?
So just to confirm, that's a withdrawal?
Yeah.
What's happened?
Yeah. No further, if one springs to mind during the meeting, Yeah, raise it then.
So just for clarity, Mr Mayor, Councillor Welling said that when the petition comes up, she would leave the meeting. So I believe that she is actually declaring a conflict and will be leaving the meeting. So the council doesn't need to make a determination on that.
Item 5.1, the ordinary council meeting minutes for October, pages 5 to 27. Is there a mover that they be confirmed? Councillor Lee, seconded Councillor O'Keefe. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 6.1, open resolutions register for November, pages 28 to 55. Are there any questions on this item? Is there a mover that council receive and note them? Councillor Truscott, second Councillor Heggie. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? It's so annoying. Can you hear me? Councillor Hanson? Oh, yeah. Super delayed. Yeah. All right. That's carried unanimously.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can hear you, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
thanks, James. That's carried unanimously. All right. 7.1, addresses and presentations. Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. There were 4 people that made presentations at the community presentations session this morning. The first person was Mr Phil Wazza, who spoke in support of the Bar Soma Parklet application before council. The second speaker was Ms Delma Taylor, who spoke on her concerns in relation to a proposed 21-storey development application on the Esplanade. The third speaker was Ms Bianca Sands, who spoke on her concerns about the heat impacts for vulnerable community members and opportunities for council to raise awareness in the community. The final speaker was Ms Sarah Farage, who spoke in support of the Bar Soma Parklet application before council. And Mr Mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge receipt of additional correspondence from Mr Graham Woad in relation to the matters he raised at the October community presentations, which I will forward to councillors.
Is there a mover that we note the verbal reports? Councillor Chapman, second Councillor Lewis. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. 10. Yep. Item 9.1, receipt of petitions. Are there any petitions to receive? Councillor Truscott.
Yes, I've got one here from John Coburn, and the bottom line is the residents of Tyro would like a fenced dog park in Tyro. It is signed by 110 people, 98 of those are local residents, and I'd like to move that this petition be received and referred to the CEO.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Sanderson. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Is there any further petitions? I have a petition here from Delma Taylor of Urangan, signed by 605 resident people. 603 are from within the region. The petition reads, we, the undersigned, request council not to allow any change to the high-density zone table 5.5.3 that states multiple dwellings do not exceed the height of 20 metres to 26 metres. We also request that the application for the 21-storey development at Torquay be denied, as it far exceeds height set by council and is not in character with other high-rises that have been built on the Esplanade within regulated height limits. Development is needed, but it has to be sustainable. And some of our concerns with this development are height, water supply, sewerage, traffic during build and after build on already busy Esplanade and freshwater streets, where there is limited parking for locals and tourists now. The overshadowing of this building on other properties around the development and in Freshwater Street across the road where the houses are. I'll move that it be received and referred to the CEO for consideration. Is there a seconder? Councillor Paul Truscott. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? Councillor Hanson?
Yeah, I'm in favour, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously for the 10 people. Thanks. Are there any further petitions? The next item. Oh, no, I think that was just a delay. Councillor Hanson, did you have a petition? I think that was just him raising his hand.
No, I don't, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Item 9.2, the petition response request for fencing at the cul-de-sac at the end of Louis Way, Harvey Bay, pages 56 to 58.
Move that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Lee's moving this. Is there a seconder? Councillor Chapman? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Councillor Henson?
Yeah, I'm in favour, Mr Mayor. I put my hand up, but
Okay.
for some reason it doesn't seem to show.
Yeah, this is going to be...
I'll just say yes from now on.
Okay, yeah, if you can verbalise it, yeah, rather than just raising your hands. Yeah, that's carried unanimously. Good. Thanks. Yeah, Councillor Hanson, yeah, if you said yes or no, that would actually, I think that'll work much better. 10.1, the Fraser
Yes,
Coast. 10.1 is the Fraser Coast Mary to Bay Rail Trail Advisory Meeting Minutes, pages 59 to 65. Is there a mover for this? Councillor O'Keefe, second Councillor Phil Truscott. I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Yes.
Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.2, the Wide Bay Water and Waste Services Advisory Meeting Minutes, pages 66 to 69. Move Councillor Lee, second Councillor O'Keefe. I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Yes.
Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 10.3, informal meetings, record of matters discussed, pages 70 to 79. Is there a mover that we receive and note the record? Councillor Heggie, second Councillor Paul Truscott. I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Yes.
Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.1, the draft strategic asset management plan, including the long-term asset management plan, pages 80 to 117. Is there a mover that we adopt? Councillor Lee, second Councillor Chapman. Any speakers or questions? Councillor Lee?
I'll just be very brief. I just want to acknowledge the significant effort that Ish has put into the preparation of this document. It might on the surface appear to be quite a bland and dry document, but it's absolutely critical in terms of capital investment over the next 10 years and the long-term investment in strategic assets and replacement of assets over the life, the cost of life issues that it raises. So just want to congratulate the team on doing what I regard as being a strategically significant piece of work, and please pass on that congratulations.
Yeah, very important. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Yes.
Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.2, the Maryborough Clay Target Club requests to expand leased area, pages 118 to 126. Councillor Truscott?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll move the alternate motion 1 that's in the supplementary agenda.
So that's just adding to the end of clause 2,
Correct.
including special conditions regarding reasonable operating hours and a prohibition on removing or clearing vegetation.
Correct.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Lee, did you wish to speak to this?
I think that's fine. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any speakers or questions? No. I'll put the motion then. All in favour?
Yes.
Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.2.3, the councillor meeting attendance for December, pages 127 to 128. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Wellings.
Can I move it with the amended time for the community presentations, please?
And second, Councillor O'Keefe. Any speakers or questions? Put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? Can you hear me, James? Lost him, so we're carrying unanimously 10-0. Item 11.3, strategy community development, the community grants program for Australia Day events, 129 to 133. Councillor Truscott's moving this. So, Councillor Truscott seconding it. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.3.2, proposal for Barisoma to host a parklet at 346 the Esplanade, pages 134 to 158. Is there a mover? Councillor Lee, second Councillor Sanderson. Any speakers or questions? Yeah, Councillor Lewis. Yep.
Just looking at the recommendation, I My concern there, I suppose, is how we deal with the possibility that, two things. One is the question of access to, whether the access to this is exclusive, whether it's available to the general public, and does that need to be a condition of the resolution, or is that simply a matter which the CEO will take on board on the basis that this would be occupied public space? The second is, how do we deal with the possibility that we get a multiplicity of applications for this sort of thing in the same location? I mean, if we get another one half a kilometre away, it doesn't matter too much, but if you get another one a couple of shops away, then how do we resolve that conflict? And can it be resolved, for instance, by limiting the term, as we do with, we limit leases to community organisations, typically to 10 years. Is this the sort of thing where you might limit the term to 3 or 5 years, so that if there were further applications, you wouldn't be locked into just the one operator who's been, I suppose, quick off the mark to make the application? I just see that risk. I mean, I'm comfortable enough with parklets, as long as they're not everywhere, as long as we don't have 50 of them up and down the street, because that is going to start to impact materially on things like parking, and you'd also need to consider what the aesthetic implications might be. And I suppose the third thing is, and again, probably maybe it doesn't need to be included in the resolution so much as noted. I'm assuming that the agreement would include a condition that the operator maintain it in a clean and tidy condition. So they're the three concerns I have that I'd like to see addressed as part of the negotiated conditions. So my question is, do we need to stipulate any of those in the recommendation, or is there any problem with?
Thank you for your questions. I'm quite comfortable understanding the council's mood in relation to the requirement for the parklet to be available for general community use outside of trading, Soma's trading hours. It's my understanding of the council's position. I'm sorry, I'll come back. Yep. That and the concern around the aesthetics, the accessibility and the maintenance, those issues can be, I don't think we need a specific resolution, they can be negotiated. In relation to the term, I think the term would be a negotiated outcome that would reflect the ability for Soma to recoup their investment. I think that's reasonable. In relation to the question regarding the future parklet applications, I believe that that's going to be addressed in the parklet policy, which is coming to council in the early next year. So yes, they have. If council approves this, they will get the benefit of being the first cab off the ranks. But the issue around the future locations and the number of parklets will be addressed in the parklet policy that's coming to council early next year.
Well, two things arise out of that. Just dealing with that one, my concern was that I wouldn't want this to be, I appreciate the point about getting a return on investment. I wouldn't want it to be for an extraordinarily long period, because notwithstanding that the parklet policy is going to come to council next year, that parklet policy is going to be subject to and conditioned upon the existing circumstances, which will include this approval. So, I mean, I'm comfortable with a reasonably generous term, but I wouldn't want to see, probably even a 10-year term, something like a 5-year problem. And the other question was just to clarify. I suppose in practice, while Soma is open, they will monopolise the parklet. Was it intended that they'd be entitled to eject patrons from other establishments, whatever.
I think so. And I just want to make it clear to the CEO that Councillor Lewis doesn't actually reflect perhaps the majority view of the council. So whilst he might be raising specific points, I'm not sure those actually should go into the negotiation.
I would expect that in terms of the exclusivity or non-exclusivity, that we need to address that. I think Barsoma proprietors would want to ensure that they have exclusive use of the facility.
The same way you have tables out front of a cafe on a sidewalk.
How they deal with people that occupy that aren't patrons, that's a matter for Barsoma. It's not a matter for council to enforce, but I think in terms of negotiating an agreement, I think it would be necessary to put something there to make it very clear that as part of their permit, they have the exclusive use of that parklet during their trading hours, and that outside their trading hours, that the parklet is to be available for public use, and that that Barsoma is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the parklet. I think they're all reasonable expectations, as would be a reasonable expectation would be potentially disability, accessibility for people with disabilities. So there's a whole range of things. We could sit here for an hour and come up with them, but I think that's not the best use of council time. In terms of the term, that's something that would need to be negotiated. I understand, I don't think it's in the council's interest to grant a permit for decades when we haven't approved the policy. But I think it's appropriate to be able to negotiate a term that allows Barsoma the ability to recoup their investment in the parklet, and that I think that's a negotiated outcome. And I understand council's view to not restrict the use of not to create an agreement that perpetuates the use of the parklet forever and a day. And there's a whole range of other conditions if Barsoma decide not to operate anymore. There'll be conditions around removing it. That will be all those things that we'll negotiate as part of the agreement. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Chapman?
Mr Mayor and councillors, I'd like to strongly speak for this motion. I just think it's great. I drive past Scarness all the time, and I remember it when I was a child, when I used to go there, and the amount of people that used to be getting around Scarness. And I also, when I go to different places, the Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, Gold Coast, I look at the eateries where people are actually out on the streets and out on the footpaths areas and enjoying themselves. And I look at Scarness as could be one of these great nodes where people can go and enjoy themselves and have that time out. And I really, for economic development, I feel this is great that we've got businesses wanting to improve their businesses and put money into their businesses to expand. And so I'll be strongly voting for this motion because I think it's a great step to see Fraser Coast or Hervey Bay move forward in a positive direction. Thank you.
Yeah, I too will be voting for this. I think so much of our public space has been dedicated to cars, particularly parking. I think one small little change, we're changing one parking space to a vibrant space that'll be really appreciated by people, is a very positive step, and I support this parklet. It's probably been almost a decade since we put the parklets in front of Madigan's and Toast in Maryborough, and they have been nothing but a success in my view in the past decade in creating a vibrant public space for people to enjoy. Are there any? Councillor Wellings?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to also express my support for this. I feel really lucky here in Hervey Bay that these days we have so many really high quality places to eat and drink, which it wasn't like that for a really long time. And we talk about attracting young people to the area and making it a vibrant place that people want to stay. And this is the kind of thing that does it. And the Mayor hit the nail on the head when he was talking about prioritising people over cars. And we talked about that a lot with the Esplanade Master Plan and how we wanted to put people first ahead of cars. And this is just one step towards that. So I look forward to seeing how we can do that a little bit more. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Lewis?
Thanks. Look, I'll speak, and in fact I'm going to support it. My purpose in speaking is, I suppose, to take the opportunity to clarify any misunderstandings about the question. I have had shopkeepers in that area express concerns to me about it, and so I've given it a lot of thought and had a good look at it. I've come to the conclusion that the loss of one car park isn't significant enough, notwithstanding that it may impact the shops immediately outside, but in the circumstances, and while my experience has been that the parking has been much more heavily subscribed than the survey that the applicants brought forward, I still think there's enough there to cater for that. My concerns really, I mean, and I have a real sort of doubt about exclusivity, but we'll let that pass in the circumstances. My concerns were that, as I say, the loss of one park is not significant. The loss of a swag of parks does become significant, and therefore we have an obligation to balance the rights of all of the businesses, not just one, which is why I raised the question about the two. I mean, generally when we are going to provide, as we'll be considering later on, when we're going to provide a council service to somebody like a tender for management rights or whatever, we go out to tender every so many years. We don't give people an exclusive right forever, and that's really all I wanted to ensure about that. And the third issue I raised was the question of maintenance. I've seen other parklets which frankly look pretty tawdry and not really inviting at all. And if we're going to have this here in such a prominent position, I just want to make sure that it looks nice, it looks inviting, and it achieves its purpose. So I'll support it, but that's why I sort of raised some concerns.
Any further speakers or questions? Councillor Lee?
I mean, you speak for or against? For. Okay. You go. I'll do the right thing.
Okay, Councillor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be speaking for this proposal, and I just want to acknowledge the work that our economic development team do every day regarding activation of public spaces. I think that this is a good fit. We've already talked about the activation of this proposal, so I'll be supporting it.
Councillor Sanderson?
Similar, Mr. Mayor, I definitely support this proposal. As we know, we've pushed for this, or these things happening over the years across the region, and I commend the business owners for taking the proactive step. I think they'll be the first, of course, but across the region you will see an uptake of people doing this, businesses doing this, and I totally agree. We should be building our region and cities for people, not just for vehicles, and this is the best way to activate this built up areas, and to see people eating and dining, I think is nothing better. So I commend the business owners and I fully support it.
Councillor Lee?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I support the proposal. I was just waiting to see if there were any speakers against. Councillor Lewis spoke for it, so that's great. I too had been approached by some local shopkeepers that were concerned, and the issues that were raised were around car parking initially. I've also engaged with the owner of Barsoma. I think they've done a very good analysis in terms of capturing the data around the actual usages of the car park, because I think at the time I met with the owner of the Barsoma, it was late in the afternoon, and there was certainly no shortage of car spaces available. So I think having that hard data and that good analysis over a time period, I think addresses that. In regard to the capital investment they're willing to make in setting up the actual parklet, I think I'm quite happy with council to negotiate fair conditions that ensure that they get a reasonable return on that investment that they're making, certainly in terms of attracting. I certainly can't see any issues that there's going to be poor maintenance, even though it's been raised as a potential issue. I think that whole vibe of that area, encouraging, as you know, councillors have said about encouraging young people to come out of a night and promote good nightlife. That location, I know Beach House is looking at doing some really exciting things. You've got that pizza bar in the corner, Barsoma, so I think it's going to really lift that location and promote people eating out, whether they're young or older. I think it's really good to promote that night economy, and certainly push back on that dark sky policy that's been pushed out there. I think it's a really good way of doing that. So I think that's a good thing. And yeah, I commend the Barsoma for certainly running the very persuasive petition, engaging with a lot of people in the community and getting that little support. People of all ages we've had that community presentation today from Phil. So it's the range of clientele that are going to activate that space is really good. And I also look forward to us moving on with the Esplanade Master Plan and making sure that this document is not just sitting on the shelf gathering dust. We actually get out and implement it and back up our words with actions. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. Moved Councillor Lee, seconded Councillor Sanderson. All in favour? You there, James?
Yes.
All opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Yep, in favour, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thanks, James. The next item is 11.4.1, petition response report and request for report on options at the Maroon foreshore, pages 159 to 169. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Sanderson, you're moving this? Yeah. Is there a seconder? Councillor Truscott, any speakers or questions?
Just a question
Yeah.
to the Director, through you, Mr Mayor, just to the Director of Infrastructure, Devendra. Yep. Just in relation to point B, can you please explain some of the steps we've taken or today and will take into the future for this area?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor, through you, Mr Mayor. So with the recent weather events, high tide and the wind, conditions, the windy conditions we have seen accumulated at the Puna bow tram and the floating walkway. So we went to the state and we have received an approval to actually reuse that sand rather than cutting away from the side. So we're putting that sand back in the system. So we're using that sand to replenish around the tree. So that's the first step we're doing as part of the maintenance. And also we'll continue to liaise with the state to see what other options may be available for council to protect that area better. And obviously, as we made highlighted in part 2A of the report, that the chairs will, the outcome of the chairs will inform council better as to what priorities they are for the council and what areas we need to invest in.
I'll put the motion. Moved Councillor Sanderson, second Councillor Truscott. All in favour? Any opposed? James? Councillor Sanderson, Councillor Hanson, are you in favour? Technology's not working today.
No. I'm in favour, Mr Mayor.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, you are. Okay, that's carried unanimously. Okay. Item 11.4.2. Yep, we got you, James. Pages 170 to 478. So we're getting through a lot of the agenda on this item. The 2023 Local Disaster Management Plan. I'll move that we adopt it. Councillor Chapman is the Deputy Chair of the the Local Disaster Management Group, seconding. Is there any speakers or questions?
Mr Mayor?
Yeah, Councillor Chapman.
Mr Mayor, this is a great document to read. It's got a lot of figures of what's actually happening within our region, and I'd just like to thank our disaster management team for putting it together. Like, the population at the moment is 115,000 people, but it talks about the number of private schools and the number of secondary schools and all that within this document. And it talks about the road networks that if in a disaster, how we actually got to try and get people to a safer area. So in disasters also, I'd just like to thank the team that we've got now from when I first started as a councillor a couple of terms ago. The team is just so dedicated that and how they actually report on bushfires, flooding, and all different situations that we could have in this area. We actually get notified very early before these things happen. So thank you very much, and I will be supporting. I think it's a great document, and it's great for our region to say that we've got an eye looking over what we're doing. Thank you.
Any further speakers or questions?
Mr Mayor, I just want to make note of the presentation that we received this morning relating to heat stress.
Yeah.
And I just wanted confirmation that we have heat stress on our website?
I doubt it. In terms of notifications or what to do, like I was thinking about that when she was talking about that, if we, like she specifically mentioned cool rooms. I know that like say if I was speaking on the radio about a heat wave, I'd say go to your shopping centre or library. But in terms of the actual website, I doubt it somehow.
Mr. Mayor, we'll take that as a question on notice, if that's okay.
Mr Mayor, we do get warnings from the bomb that we've got heat waves coming through and different things.
Okay, we're helpful hints. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we do have helpful hints for heat wave. Yeah.
So I won't take that as a question on notice.
Well, perhaps can you read what it says? See how helpful
Fraser
it is.
Coast Council's website on heat wave helpful hints. A heat wave is a continuous spell of abnormally hot weather. Usually occurs when there are a number of consecutive days with above average temperature, often combined with high humidity. So it says who it can affect and ways you can prepare for a heat wave, such as planning ahead to reduce the risk, look at alternatives, have your air conditioner service, prepare for a power failure, and listen to your local weather forecast.
In the meantime,
And there is more information as well, which takes you to the Queensland Government's heat wave website as well.
Okay. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion that we adopt the local disaster management plan as detailed in attachment 1. All in favour? Councillor Hanson? I think we've lost him, so it's carried unanimously 10-0. Item 11.4.3, development of City Park, Harvey Bay, pages 479 to 484. This is moved, Councillor Lee. Is there a seconder? Councillor Lewis. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Up to 10. You're not there, Councillor Hanson. 11.4.4, Parks and Reserves Naming Policy, pages 485 to 492. Is there a mover for this? Councillor O'Keefe, second Councillor Chapman. Can I just ask a question? In terms of streets, do developers have to run the street names by us?
Defer to
Mr. Mayor, they advise us, and we technically, could refuse if it was offensive or something like that, but it's a very light touch regulatory.
Would we ever say, no, there's already a street name with that 2 suburbs away?
So I think things like that we might pick up.
Like Banksia Street, Banksia Parkway, like would that raise a flag, pops?
Potentially could, but it's, to be honest with, like we're not putting, detailed work in beyond making sure that, they're not prohibitive type names. Well, we will sometimes have discussions even at pre-lodgement stage where, we might suggest things if we're aware of significant, history of the area and things like that, but the naming comes from the developer to us, we're responding.
But we do have to approve it, I guess.
Yes.
At some stage, yeah, but we there's not much we take. This doesn't take into account the streets. No. And so and we would we run a test to see if there is already a street in the same suburb with that name?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to take that on notice. How much detail? I know we have the power to reviews, but I'm not aware of occasions where we have. So I'll check in terms of how much depth we do in terms of our review before we say yes.
Mr. Mayor, just for the purpose of the minutes, if we can take that as a question on notice.
Yep. Any further speakers or questions? This is moved, Councillor O'Keefe, second Councillor Chapman. All in favour? Any opposed? So it must be 9-0. We've completely lost Councillor Hanson now. Are we trying to get him back?
The stream is on, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
It's just if Councillor Hanson joins
Okay.
us.
Yep. The next item, 11.4.5, the tender award for the inspection and preventative servicing of bridges and major culverts, page 493 to 506. Is there a mover for this? Councillor Chapman, second Councillor Lee. Any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.5.2, Maryborough Landfill Site Development Plan, pages 519 to 655. This is moved Councillor Lee. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor O'Keefe. Are there any? Oh, James is back. Oh, sorry. I'll get to that. Sorry, I'll make sure we did that. Sorry. Any further speakers or questions on this item? I'm sorry, I inadvertently missed the unauthorized stormwater connections. We'll go to that one next. We're on the Maryborough Landfill Site Development Plan.
I'd like to speak to that.
Yep.
Thanks.
Councillor Lee.
Look, this, the Maryborough landfill was opened in the early 1980s, and over that period of time, over the last 30 odd years or so, there's been an increase in traffic, increase in the amount of material, waste material that's going there, increase in community expectations, increase in environmental regulations, regulatory and compliance requirements. In 2020, we will recall that we developed the land optimisation study, which will allow us to project out to 2050 with good practice to ensure that we lengthen the life of the landfill. A critical part of that has been that in this landfill strategy, we are looking at best practice recycling, repurpose and reuse facilities so that we can ensure that we divert significant amount of waste material away from landfill and then potentially project the life of the landfill. Since the pre-pandemic times, we've had something like I think a 15% increase in traffic and use of that waste management facility. And going out to 2050, we anticipate a projected 41% increase in traffic going through that facility. So it's really, really critical that we develop fit for purpose, sustainable and best practice landfill facilities. And that's what we'll be doing. We'll be making that capital investment in a second weighbridge in due course and improving the traffic management. Certainly the traffic access off that main road is something that's being lobbied for at the moment. So I encourage councillors to get behind and support this document. It is a guiding document, so it's something that the Water and Waste Management Committee keep coming back and touching base and reviewing. So I think we're in a really strong position. And as I said, that best practice around reuse, repurpose and recycling is going to take us forward, especially with the significant investment that we'll be making in the material resources facility over the next couple of years.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. Moved Councillor Lee, seconded moved Councillor Chapman. Sorry. Moved Councillor Lee, seconded Councillor Chapman. Yep. Is that right?
No.
Oh, sorry, O'Keefe, sorry.
Okay.
Yep. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? Did you vote?
That was the other room.
Okay. Oh, so you're
back now, so
so you're voting in favour? Yeah. That's carried unanimously of the councillors that were in the room. Sorry, and I missed item 11.5.1, the approved inspection program for unauthorised stormwater connections to sewer, pages 507 to 518. Is there a mover for this? Sure. Councillor Truscott, second Councillor Chapman. Any speakers or questions? This is an important program to make sure that our sewage system is efficient and is not being overrun at times of storms. If there are no speakers or questions, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 11.5.3, the Nickenbaugh Waste Transfer Station Site Development Plan, pages 656 to 690. This is moved Councillor Lee. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor O'Keefe. Any speakers or questions? Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, just wanted to acknowledge that the site plan will lead to improved access and amenity at the site. Currently, it's a little bit confusing. You might say you need a GPS to navigate around the site. I've had a look at the site plans and I'm enthusiastic about them.
Yep. Speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 12.1, request for consideration of the design and construction of Hockley Lane in the 2024-25 budget. This is moved, Councillor O'Keefe. Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Lewis, did you wish to speak to this, Councillor O'Keefe?
I think we've had community participation on the subject and the background's pretty clear.
Okay. Are there any speakers or questions on this? No? This is moved, Councillor O'Keefe, seconded, Councillor Lewis. All in favour? Any opposed? One, that's carried 9-1. Item 13.1, response to question on notice, placement of the Christmas tree in Harvey Bay for 2023. Is there a mover that we note the information for the placement? Councillor Willings, seconded Councillor Lee. And the Maryborough one is going up today. It's in the process of going up today. This one will be in the coming weeks. Any speakers or questions?
November, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. I've already been to several Christmas events.
Right. December 1 for me.
Yeah. Right, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Item 13.2, response to question on notice. The RV Park at Howard being named Mal Chard Park, page 694. And Councillor Hanson, can you hear us, Councillor Hanson? No. Is there a mover that we note this one? Councillor Sanderson, seconded Councillor.
I'll let him do it.
Can you hear us? You there, James?
I can hear you now, Mr. I could actually hear you. I could actually hear you the whole time, but I was just frozen.
Oh, it's a good thing we weren't saying it. Sorry.
I'm sure you were praising me.
Yeah. We're actually on item 13.2694, which is your item about Malchard Park.
Yep. Look, I'll be happy to move that recommendation, and I look forward to going out there on the opening day.
Yeah. So, and this is seconded, Councillor Sanderson. Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. All in favour? All opposed?
Mr. Mayor.
That's carried unanimously. We'll go to the late items. Item 16.1.1, Organizational Performance Report, pages 718 to 735 of the supplementary agenda. Are there any questions on this one? Is there a mover that we receive and note the report? Councillor Truscott, seconded Councillor Heggie. Put the motion. All in favour? Any
Yes,
opposed?
Mr. Mayor.
That's carried unanimously. Item 16.1.2, the tender award for the operational management of beachfront tourist parks, pages 736 to 753. Yeah, Councillor Wellings?
Any questions on this?
Yeah, just if it goes into the confidential report, we'll have to move into confidential.
Okay, I don't think it does. I wanted to ask about, in the recommendation, it says it's a 5-year term with 2 12-month extension options for a total cost of. So is that total cost of 7 years?
Director Parsons?
Just to be clear.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Wellings. I might just ask the Executive Manager of Corporate Services to confirm that value.
Yeah, I believe it's for 7 years.
Okay, and were there any CPI increases on top of that each year, or?
I think there is, yes.
Okay, so it's not quite the total cost. Or is that inclusive of the CPI increases? I guess it can't be, can it? We don't know what the CPI is. So is the CPI then every year? I'm just trying to understand exactly what the cost is.
Councillor, my understanding the contract does have an indexation each year.
Then also, so I emailed Director Parsons last night just to find out what the responsibilities are of the management and what they're responsible for paying and what council are responsible for paying. And I've had a brief look at that this morning. From what I can see, and I might be wrong, but from what I can see, I can't see anything on there that that includes any requirement or obligation on them to do any marketing of the vacant lots or any I think there is a KPI around occupancy. It's not specified exactly what it is, but is there any requirement for them under the contract to market to make them available online for booking? Is where I'm going.
Councillor Wellings, thank you for the question through the chair. No, council takes the responsibility for the marketing and promotion of the caravan parks and vacancies. I'm not sure, and perhaps executive manager can correct me if I'm wrong, but they do have an obligation to keep the sites up and available on the booking system, unless there's a sound reason for them not to be available for maintenance or some other reason.
I just want to confirm that they're obligated to do that. And the other one was that the documents that they've looked at when they were tendering require them to have the office open until 5:30 p.m, but our website says it's open until 6. So I just noticed the inconsistency and not sure whether one should be changed or the other should be changed. But the other thing was around late check-ins. So they have, from what I can tell, no obligation to accept late check-ins or to have a procedure for late check-ins. And the reason I ask that is because we want to encourage people to come, say, from Brisbane on a Friday after work. By the time they get here, it's after 5:30 p.m. And as it stands at the moment, all of the marketing that we've done obviously says the reception shuts at 6 and that's it. And their obligations on the document that you'd sent me sort of said it says when they have to be available for emergency after hour calls, but a late check-in is not really an emergency. And then it says what hours they have to open the office. So, and where I'm going with it, if it doesn't have these things in it, I wonder whether I can move a motion that sort of asks the CEO to negotiate those things in.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Wellings. Through the chair, my understanding is that late check-ins, may be done on an ad hoc basis. So with agreement, if the party's on their way up, they've got a booking for the day that they may well call the manager and say, look, I've been held up, there's been roadworks there, I'll be there an hour late. And, they are on-site managers, so they do live on the accommodation that we provide them. So that's my understanding of how that might work. I appreciate we may not have a specific obligation written into the management agreement, but that's certainly something that if it's council's will that we can, fine-tune and negotiate some of those more operational aspects in the agreement.
So, I think it's important. It is standard practice that a caravan park would work out an after-hours procedure. But if we say that they're not obligated to do it, then there's nothing wrong with the managers there just saying, sorry, if you're not in by 5:30, you can't check in today. You'll have to come tomorrow. And my experience with the managers over the years in those parks, and I've stayed in those parks, is that it varies. Some of them are really good about after hours, and some of them just aren't. So I think it would be. I wonder whether I could move the recommendation, but in point 4, where it's got delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to approve variations to the tendered amount, then add, including the addition of a requirement to require an after-hours check-in procedure and an obligation to properly market the vacant sites, including but not limited to online bookings. And I acknowledge the general marketing's ours, but it's 100% them that runs the booking software that links to the website that determines whether they're available or not.
Thank you, Councillor Wellings. If I may respond through the chair. If you're looking to make an amendment, my suggestion would be to paragraph 3 of the officer's recommendation, because that's where we're negotiating the agreement. The paragraph 4 there is simply referring to sort of normal variations during the term of the contract. The second point, comfortable for us to, deal with some of those operational matters, such as ensure we have an after-hours procedure, and we may already do so, but happy for that to be included in there. I'd perhaps like to consider the wording of marketing a little more, that the marketing, having sites up and available on the booking system, I think is an obligation we can put on the managers of the facilities. marketing is something that we accept that responsibility for. So again, just the language in that.
So if I could just add on to the response from Director Parsons, I agree. Section 3 is where it should go, and perhaps at the end of where it says both parties, full stop, it said the management agreement should address, and we could list those items: after hours check-in, promotion and marketing.
Not promotion and marketing, I think he's saying. So after hours check-in and availability of,
Availability of sites on the booking system.
availability of.
So we say that the management agreement should address, amongst other things, those points that have been raised. And I think in section 3, that would be satisfactory, Mr. Director.
Yes.
Is there a seconder for that?
I'm happy to second.
Councillor Lee, do you wish to speak to your motion?
I suppose only to say that I acknowledge those things can be operational in nature, but at the end of the day, the caravan parks make money for the ratepayer, and we have an obligation to them to make sure that they're earning their maximum income so that we can reduce the burden on the ratepayer, and also to make sure that our region is tourist friendly and people want to come up from Brisbane on a Friday afternoon and check into a friendly caravan park that's got a good check-in procedure. And I guess just to point out, just because I have had a look at that document, just to make sure that everyone understands what we are awarding, they are responsible to pay their own labour, but if there is an electrician, a plumber or a qualified tradesperson, council will be paying that. It doesn't come out of this fee. And I think we supply the toilet paper and the hand wash as well.
There's a problem.
Yeah. So, thank you.
I've got a question. Thanks for raising some of those issues. I'd be really keen to know that, in substance, my question goes to the actual management agreement. So in substance, what's the difference between because the circumstances around the design of the new park are quite different to the old park, I'd be really keen to know about what substantial differences, if any, there is between the prior management agreement and the new management agreement. So there's some significant things that are in and some significant things that are out.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Lee. Through the chair, I think the Executive Manager of Corporate Services, Sydney Shang, might be best placed to do that. The agreements are substantially the same, but there are some differences in this arrangement.
It's more around we just don't roll the agreement over without really thinking about the change in the circumstances.
We've updated some of the terms, but ultimately the basis of the agreement is the same. So what they do and what we do is principally the same. There's been some minor changes with underlying that, but ultimately they're responsible for the management of the park, the cleaning of the park, the maintenance in the park, and we're responsible for providing the trades and the toilet paper.
So we did press the pause button and actually sort of go back to basic principles and have a refresh and make sure that we've actually got this right. We just haven't rolled the agreement over.
No, we've had it.
Councillor Chapman?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to support this motion, but I'd also like to thank Councillor Wellings for some of the questions and information that she's actually brought with her knowledge of her past life and what she's been doing. And some of these things are great, and to have it as an easy way of one of the questions that she did ask was of having an easy booking system. And sometimes there's people sitting around and thinking, what can we do? I think, how about we go to Harvey Bay? And if you could actually look onto a website, see there's a spare spot there, click on it and book it, you could travel to Brisbane and have a couple of days in Harvey Bay. And that's what it's all about. It's making it easier for people to enjoy what we've got here to share. So just Councillor Wellings, again, thank you for your, like even we're sitting in different meetings and that, some of the questions you ask is a lot of things that I have never thought about, so thank you.
Any further speakers or questions? I'll put the motion. Moved Councillor Welling, seconded Councillor Lee. All in favour? Any opposed? That That's carried unanimously.
No, George, I was.
Oh, okay, so that's 8-1. Then general business, is there any general business? So no general business, will move into confidential. I'll move that council move into closed session pursuant to section 254J3 of the local government regulation for discussion of the following items. For the reasons: one, in accordance with section 254J3H, it is necessary to close the meeting to discuss ordinary item 15.1, potential sites for future Harbour Bay Cemetery, as it relates to negotiations relating to the taking of land by the local government under the Acquisitions of Land Act 1967, as the discussion will involve legal implications of land acquisition and protection of matters confidential in confidence. Two, in accordance with section 254J3G, it is necessary to close the meeting to discuss item 16.2.1, land matter, Harbour Bay Airport Industrial Estate, as it relates to negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government, for which a public discussion would likely prejudice the interests of the local government, as the discussion will involve negotiations relating to land. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Sanderson, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I move that the meeting resume in open council. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. I'll move that the meeting be adjourned until 12:25. All in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously.
Okay, we'll just
Reconvene at 12:25.
Okay, so we're still live streaming at the moment, the microphone.
Yes.
convened. All in favour?
Aye.
You there, James? Out of 10, all in favour unanimously. I'll move as per the previous motion to go into confidential in relation to 254J3H for section 15.1 and 254J3G in relation to 16.2.1. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Lee, all in favour? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. We call James. Because he's there, he might have just wandered off.
I'll send him a message.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we're still live.
Yeah.
Councillor Lewis can move a motion that the matter be referred back to the Chief Executive Officer for further consultation with Council.
Move that.
Okay, so let us know when we're ready. Are you ready to go live, Mr. Mayor?
So if we resume and open that, does it need a seconder? Because you're going to reach, because when you just resume. Seconds.
Oh, just that screen.
Oh, it's just the screen. Okay, I'll move, and Councillor Sanderson is seconding that we resume in open council. All in favour?
Yes.
All any opposed? That's carried unanimously. In confidential, we discussed items 15.1 and 16.2.1. Go to item 15.1, Councillor Chapman.
Yes, I'd like to do an alternative motion that council refer the report back to the Chief Executive Officer to include other vacant private land in the general vicinity of the Showgrounds Reserve on Dundarren Road or the Dundarren area that would be suitable for a community cemetery.
And is there a seconder for that? Councillor Truscott seconding that. Councillor Wellings.
Thank you. I'd just like to foreshadow a motion that council delegates authority to the CEO to negotiate a purchase agreement for the site identified in the officer's report for future cemetery purposes for council's consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Chapman, do you wish to speak to your motion?
I'm quite happy to.
Are there any speakers or questions? I'll put Councillor Chapman's motion. If that passes, then we'll move to the next item. If that fails, then we'll move to the foreshadowed motion. All in favour? 2, 3, 4. Councillor Hanson, are you in favour or against? Councillor Hanson, can you hear us? So we've moved.
In favour.
Okay, so we do that again, all in favour?
Yes, Mayor.
5 in favour, sorry, yeah, that is 5, yeah? Yeah, that's 5, yeah.
Favour.
Yep, all opposed? 6, that's lost 5 to 6. We'll move to Councillor Welling's foreshadowed motion. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Lee? And are you?
I'll just flag that if that doesn't get up, we'll go to the officer's
Yeah,
recommendation.
you're foreshadowing the officer's recommendation, yep. Councillor Wellings, do you wish to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Are there any speakers or questions? Councillor Hanson, are you raising your hand to speak? Can you hear us, Councillor Hanson?
Camera off.
Yeah, better be. If you turned your video off, you'd have more bandwidth. Councillor Hanson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can very well.
Okay. Okay, so were there any speakers or questions on this item? We moved on to Councillor Welling's motion.
All right.
Oh,
There you go. No,
Yeah.
I can hear you very well. Yes,
Okay,
I can.
good. Okay, I'll put the motion. This is moved Councillor Wellings, seconded Councillor Lee. If this fails, then we'll go to the other foreshadowed motion. All in favour? 6. Sorry, Councillor Hanson, are you in favour or against? Councillor Hanson?
Oh, this is ridiculous.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, are you in favour of the motion or against? This is Councillor Welling's motion.
I'm in favour.
Okay, that's 7. All opposed? 4. That's carried 7-4. And so therefore the other foreshadowed motion lapses. We'll move to item 16.2.1. This is supplementary agenda 754 to 854. Councillor Lewis? you're moving, that the matter be,
The matter to be referred back to the CEO for
Further consultation with councillors.
further consultation.
is there a seconder for that? Councillor Wellings, any speakers or questions? I'll put the motion, all in favour? James? Can you hear me, James?
Yes,
Yeah, are you in favour of the motion?
yeah, I'm in favour.
All opposed? That's carried.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're in favour of the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all opposed? That's carried unanimously. I understand that concludes the business. I didn't miss anything?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No? I will therefore, I'll close the meeting at 1:05. Thank you.
Well done. Just, we are still live, and we'll turn the microphone off.